Hi and welcome along to the Tactical Insight Show. Graham is here in the building. Look at his title that he's gone with today, which I think is really fitting. Chaos, Controversy and Mutiny. It's all gone. It's done. Graham, I can't even begin to start. I mean, the game on Sunday against Crystal Palace, full pack of incident. First of all, 2-0 up, throwing away a 2-0 lead. Secondly, a disgusting, what I think, and I'll get your opinion on it, a disgusting VAR decision that's cost us 3 points. And thirdly, Granit Xhaka, coming off the pitch, being booed by the fans, goading them. Fans, was it the fans who were wrong? Was it Granit Xhaka? I mean, just so many incidents. And then you can throw in the mix Emery. Another game, in the last 2 games, 1 point from a possible 6 against Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. And we're the Arsenal. So lots and lots of things to talk about. I'll leave it to you. Where do we start?
It wasn't a boring 1-0 to the Arsenal, was it?
Yeah, I wish it was.
And I think that there was, as I said, chaos, controversy and mutiny seemed to sum up the game. I think it's worrying at the moment because there seemed like a disconnect yesterday between the Arsenal team and the fans.
Massive disconnect.
First time I've seen that under Emery's reign. And I think if you look at our last 8 games, in the Premier League this season, since we won our first 2, we've only won 2, we've lost 4. Sorry, we've lost 2, drawn 4. Only scored 12, 13 conceded. Only scored 2 of our 7 goals from open play. And amazingly, we're still 5th. So, but I think yesterday we were gifted. Well, we weren't gifted. We got a 2-goal start in 10 minutes. And I think sometimes, 2 goals is a dangerous sort of lead, isn't it? We've heard that said so many times. I just think we played right into Crystal Palace's hands. The thing about Crystal Palace is when you play Palace, there's 2 things you've got to be aware of. One is they play for free kicks, and also you have to have a plan how to deal with Wilfried Zaha, particularly when you've got your right back Callum Chambers, not your regular right back. And I think we sort of like lost control in central midfield. It became a game what they wanted, a sort of a scrappy game. And once they got it back to 2-1, and I know we're going to talk about the VAR decisions, it became a game that they wanted. And they played the games in the area of the pitch where they wanted to play it. We didn't play it in the areas of pitch that suited our strengths. And ultimately they wrestled that midfield away from us, and they looked dangerous every time they broke forward. And in the end, I have to say, I thought a draw was on the stats, was a fair result. The XG slightly favoured Palace on the day. If we look at the stats, obviously we slightly shade them. We had more possession, more passes, more shots, more crosses, more tackles and more corners. So you could say that, but the action areas of the game were fairly even. And I think Palace in the end showed something that we don't always show. They showed desire to get back into the game. Helped, I have to say, by the referee and the VAR.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say we didn't show desire to get back into the game, because we did. We should have won the game.
No, I'm saying Palace showed desire to get back into the game. We don't always show that desire. Yeah. When we go 2-0 down, sometimes we don't show that desire. We did against Tottenham.
We have been showing it recently. Yeah. That's the one thing. That's the annoying thing about that VAR decision, because they did actually get back into the game and win the game. Yeah. But
yeah, I think sometimes what I'm trying to say is sometimes we've got that soft underbelly mentality. I agree with you. Emery games have seemed like a roller coaster this season, and we do sort of like fight hard, particularly when we're losing games. I just think that there is that sometimes away from home. I more or less say that more away from home than at home. We show the fight at home, but do we show the fight away from home? But I think yesterday we made the mistake of, obviously, once it got back to 2-1, there was no real creativity. I said it yesterday through the centre of the pitch. I think sometimes, if we go to the formation he went with yesterday, Robbie, he went with a 4-4-2, which was an interesting change. Tierney came in, and I thought in that first 20 minutes, actually, he did some good things on the left-hand side. He moved Ceballos over to the left-hand side to work with Tierney in that 4. I don't think that's Ceballos' best position.
No.
And he had Pepe on the right side, and I put there about his dead ball deliveries, because I think that we saw how good his free kicks were in the week, and
his corners were
brilliant, weren't brilliant yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was his corners that led to 2 goals. Goalkeeper comes, Hennessy comes for the punch, which he maybe didn't have to come for. And then obviously it wasn't a great header away from Gary Cahill, and Xhaka does get the assist with the cushioned header for Socrates. Second corner flicked on by Lacazette. I know Hodgson has said he think there was a foul on MacArthur. I didn't see enough of it, but for it to be a foul. But obviously that's what Hodgson thought. And then Louise puts us 2 up. So we are 2 up. When you get 2 up in a game, you should control the game, shouldn't you? And yet we didn't. And I think also you have to recognise their strength. Zaha is their one strength playing. They are brilliant on the counter-attack, Crystal Palace, and what they do is they are very disciplined, well organised. They will be unhappy the way they defended the corners, because they don't concede much from set plays. And I have to say at the moment we're only scoring from set plays, if you look at our last 3 goals at the Emirates. But they are very dangerous on the counter-attack. Ayew is obviously sort of like a good focal point for them this year, and he deserved his goal yesterday. I thought he was their best player. I have to say I thought he was excellent in the game. But Zaha is always the danger, so you have to have plans to stop Zaha. When we went to Old Trafford, Emery had plans to stop Pogba by playing Torreira further forward to press him. I didn't agree playing Torreira there, but I can understand what he did. But we didn't really get players around Zaha well enough, like they did round Pepe. Every time Pepe got the ball, Robbie, they had players around him. And if you look at the 2 goals we conceded, the penalty first of all. Now I'm going to highlight here, sort of like Socrates is here, Robbie, and Chambers is there, and Zaha has come up to here. So as Zaha's running towards Chambers, we've got Socrates here. So we've got like a 2v1 situation there. So Chambers, what Chambers could do there, Zaha wants to come inside, and he's looking obviously, as Zaha does, for contact. If he shows Zaha on the outside, Socrates can come across. So if he does that, we block the situation. Now, lack of communication between Socrates and Chambers. I think Socrates has to tell Chambers, push him wide. If he pushes him wide, then he's not going to get into a position where he can jink inside and look for contact or get a cross across. So basically, you're going to talk about, because you mentioned it to me and you've seen it back, and I've heard the comments from Mark Clattenburg. In the stadium, I thought it was a nailed-on penalty.
I thought it was a nailed-on penalty. I was right behind it. I thought nailed-on penalty.
It looked it, then it just looked it.
Yeah.
What you don't do with Zaha, you don't dangle a leg, because he's looking for the contact. And there are a lot of players in the Premier do that. So I'm not just calling Zaha out. I think he's an excellent player, and he proved it yesterday why Arsenal are interested in the summer. But it's no secret that he's won the most penalties in the Premier League since he returned to Crystal Palace. He's now won 16 penalties. Palace, since they returned to the Premier League, have won most penalties, Robbie, in the Premier League. They would argue that they're in the box, right? Which is fair enough. 48 penalties, conversion 39, and Milivojevic has hit 21 penalties.
He's brilliant on penalties, isn't he?
So one thing you know when there's a penalty, Leno hasn't saved one, Milivojevic doesn't miss one, so it's almost like a foregone conclusion. But let's go back to it, right? And you tell me what you've heard from Clattenburg and what your view on it now is in the stadium and what you now think.
So at first I thought, I was right behind it, I thought nailed on penalty. When he got the yellow card and that, I thought to myself, oh, okay, we've got away with one there.
Yeah.
But when the penalty was then awarded and the yellow card rescinded, I was like, I think the referee, even though it's gone against us, I think the referee got it right. When I watched it back on TV, it's like, hold on a minute, I'm not sure now. Then I saw Mark Clattenburg, ex-referee's comments, where he said he wouldn't have reversed that decision if he was on the VAR, because Callum Chambers' foot is planted, right? And he said Zaha basically sees the planted leg and goes over it very theatrically and wins the penalty. He thinks that, you know, the player moved to the player. You know what I mean? There was no foul. He moved to it and made sure there was contact. And if you look at it again, I have to say, I agree with him. And, you know, it's one of those that I could see why the referee would give it. But if the job of the VAR guys to reverse clear and obvious things, It was not clear and obvious. So he should have stuck with what the referee had gone with on the pitch. So for me, in real time, I would have given a penalty. In looking at it again, I think it's not nailed on.
And obviously, I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
And sort of like seeing it myself.
Yeah.
A few
Second
times.
incident now.
Yeah. Second
Right,
incident.
the second VAR incident. I'm sorry. There is no way on earth that goal should have been disallowed. Right? How is that? Whoever's sitting in wherever it is, Oxley Park or Stockley Park or wherever it is, right, making these decisions.
Who is the guy? He's made.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? They may as well be sitting in Bletchley Park.
He's never refereed a Premier League game.
You know what I mean? Because how can you overturn that? There was no foul. If anything, the person fouled was Callum Chambers. He was pushed over, pushed into a player.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a perfectly good goal, winning goal scored that's been disallowed. And I thought that VAR decision was disgraceful. And then we've gone from 1 week or the past few weeks where the referees don't overturn absolutely anything, the VAR guys, right, the referee makes on the pitch. So all of a sudden it's like they've been given an instruction to overturn as much as you can. Because we saw it all weekend, some poor VAR decisions. And I'm not against VAR, but what it is, the problem is that you still got to have these mugs of a referees controlling the VAR thing. So, you know, it's still them who makes the decision on the technology. It was a terrible decision.
Yeah, and the decision was that once, and I put obviously Chambers in there. That's Chambers is there,
Yeah.
and you got MacArthur there, and you got Cahill here. So there's a lot going on in that area.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
And the fact is that the VAR official overturned it because it was a subjective on the fact that he said that MacArthur was impeded by Chambers in trying to clear the ball. He was hampered in trying to clear the ball. Yet if you look at the incident, Cahill is pushing into Chambers. And there's so much going on in there. There's not enough to, to actually overturn
decisions like that yesterday.
Yeah.
With the VAR ruins football.
Yeah.
And you know, he was inside the ground as usual.
Yeah.
With VAR, you don't really know what's going on. Apart from earlier on, where it looked like they'd been making a mistake with the VAR, and the decisions were coming out live. Did you hear that? Some of that? Where
Yeah. Oh yeah, you could. It is ridiculous, wasn't it?
Just checked. It's not a handball. Please play on. Right. Those decisions were supposed to be, but nobody knows what's going on. Yeah. And it's taking the emotion out of it. We're all celebrating, jumping up, we're happy. Then all of a sudden, back to the absolute farce that was.
And it's always the paying fan who's not getting the best.
Yeah, the VAR decisions was an absolute farce, as was the Granit Xhaka incident.
Can we just, before we go to that Granit Xhaka incident, just talk about that incident, right? So, and the final thing I want to say is that I think the Premier League has shot themselves in the foot. Because all around Europe at the moment, they're using these screens on the screens.
You can go and look at it.
There's one on the pitch yesterday.
There's one there.
So when he said to the referee, he's obviously blown, check the foul, he could have come down to that screen and looked at it, then he would have seen that his decision, there wasn't enough
but
there.
But they haven't used it once.
No. Why not?
In the Premier League. It's obviously a directive. What are they doing with this? If you're not going to do this VAR thing right, then don't use it. It's making things worse.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, VAR cost us, I think, yesterday. And to be fair, we haven't had any VAR controversy go against us this season. I think Everton were cost by the VAR on Saturday in their game down at Brighton, and we were yesterday, and that's just a fact, and that's just the way it is, and we just hope then that it evens itself up.
When VAR is getting things wrong, I mean...
Now, look, I just want to highlight Crystal Palace's formation yesterday. I couldn't work out. They started the season on a 4-4-2. This is for Palace fans watching. I think they flipped to a 4-1-4-1 a lot of the time. But I was looking at it yesterday with Townsend coming in to the team instead of Sloop. It was more a 4-3-2-1 in possession, but out of possession, Townsend and Zaha worked back. And so it was like a 4-5-1. One thing I will give Palace credit for is I think Roy Hodgson's getting the absolute best out of that team. They had an excellent away record last year, Robbie, in the Premier League. Only, I think, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea and Spurs had better away records than them. And they started the season poorly away from home. They have picked up away from home. They won at Man United. And they are no mugs, right? So, so we'll give credit to them. But I would expect Arsenal at home, with our home form, to sort of like win this game. And the fact we didn't. And we're going to talk about the thing that I know we're going to talk about because it's all across the media today, It's the Granit Xhaka thing. Is he the divisive figure? His reaction yesterday to being substituted. Now, first of all, before we talk about it, I've got some Xhaka stats up there for you. Down to your right.
In the game, 61
minutes he was on. 1 interception. He created 1 chance, which I think was the header for the goal. 48 touches.
43 touches.
43 touches, sorry. 33 passes. Pass accuracy down for him, 79%. And 2 fouls. But the one thing I noticed about him yesterday, and I was watching him quite closely, I just think he lacks confidence. I honestly think at the moment he lacks confidence. Now, and I think this whole thing about him being captain, I think is affecting him, right? And I've never seen him as a captain, because I think he's somebody, when I watch him on the pitch, and I can remember interviews with you a few years ago when you said, is he a liability? And I was saying, no, he's not a liability. I just think under pressure, he gets stressed very easily and he makes mistakes. And I don't think you can have that as your most error-prone player's captain.
We saw when he got stressed yesterday.
Yeah, so, but I think Hector Bellerin's come out overnight and made a tweet. I just want to say that about sort of like, we need to stick together. You need to understand the human emotion. And I applaud Hector Bellerin for making that tweet out to the Arsenal fan base. So I do think we need to stick together. And I think emotions are very high after the game yesterday. And I saw all the fan cams, and even me, I was sort of unhappy with Xhaka yesterday. Unhappy because he's a professional at the end of the day. He's paid by the club, we pay his wages, and I think boos are part of sport. I think society has changed now, Robbie. I think back to my parents. They had a black and white TV for about 30 years. They only changed it when it exploded, right? And I went out. I'd started work by then. And I went out and bought them a coloured one. So we have become like a throwaway society. If we don't like something, we change it. If we're unhappy in our marriages, we change our wives, and so on and so forth. So, and I think football fans reflect society, and I think football fans yesterday reflected the fact that they're losing patience with Xhaka, but I also think it's thinly aimed at the manager. Things are turning against Emery at the moment. I think people are struggling to understand what his philosophy is, what his pattern of play is. They watch the team and we're not creating. Like, and the Ozil name is like another elephant in the room for him now. It's ringing out across the stadium. And I think you have to say that he made Xhaka captain. It wasn't Xhaka's fault he was captain. It's not
he made a player that was already getting a load of stick, the captain.
And I don't think Xhaka deserves his place in the team at the moment.
Exactly.
I think Xhaka is a good footballer, a good passer. He has got qualities, right? But I don't think he's a sitting DM. And
you've got a sitting DMs on the touchline warming up the whole game.
So I think one thing
Lucas Torreira.
Exactly. So one thing about Emery is know your players, know what your strengths are. Torreira is a DM. Xhaka is a deep line playmaker. If you're going to play Xhaka, you've got to play him next to Torreira. It worked for a while last season, didn't it, when Torreira was playing well? You can't play Xhaka as that DM because, and he's immobile. I think with Xhaka and Guendouzi, you get 2 players there who are like one player. I think Guendouzi should play further forward if we're going to play that way. If we're not going to bring Ozil back, which it looks like they're not going to bring him back, play Ceballos and Torreira as a pivot. Torreira to screen the back four, to break the play out, to tackle. Ceballos, who's like a Santi figure, who can twist one way, twist the other, can play in small spaces and build the play up. He can't play further forward. He hasn't got the legs, he hasn't got the passing range of an Ozil. Guendouzi is somebody who can thrust forward and drive forward and connect with the front three. So that makes sense to me if you're not going to bring Ozil back in. But I think the problem with Xhaka is that I think you could argue that basically his performances have been poor, and when he's trapped in this selection, isn't he? Of keep picking him, and I think over the last few weeks I think the 3 players who should have been out the side for me, ironically, Socrates scored 2 yesterday, but I don't think
he played well. I thought he played well.
He did play well yesterday, but I think his performances have been poor this season. He hasn't been the defender he was last season. So Socrates, Xhaka and Kolasinac have been the 3 for me, have been really disappointing. He keeps picking them up to yesterday when he brought Tierney in.
And I heard the Tierney thing. Yeah. I heard that Kolasinac had a late fitness test before the game, so possibly if he'd have been fully fit, Tierney wouldn't have started. Yeah.
But just going back to Xhaka, it's the big talking point, isn't it? His reaction. What in the stadium round you did you hear? What do you think?
Well, listen. I said it after the game. For me, the fans, I don't like this. I don't like. It's funny enough. I was doing an interview today with Redmen TV, Liverpool guys, and I asked them. They got Henderson, who I know a lot of Liverpool fans sometimes that they don't rate him. They think other players should be in that midfield. I said, have you ever heard anything? They said, never. They go,
yeah, but they're winning. They're winning.
Yeah, I did say, yeah, you're not winning. But they said, even in the bad times, they said, listen, they'll slate players. He goes, don't get it wrong. He said, they will slate players, but after the game, right? After the game, or people will slate them around in the ground. But he goes, you would never, he goes, he was shocked to hear the way the fans were jeering and the ironic applause and stuff like that. He goes, I've never heard that at Liverpool, right? I've heard that a lot of Arsenal. I've heard it last year with Mustafi. We know he was having a nightmare, but we heard that with Mustafi. Yeah. We've heard that before with Iwobi, with Walcott. You know what I mean? And I don't think, if the player's coming off, let him come off. Then after the game, or amongst yourselves, I don't think it was right the way the fans.
Do you know what?
But Graham, where I am with the fans is once that's happened. Yeah. You are the captain of the club. And to start cupping your ears and throwing things down, and, you know, I know what Bellerin's saying, and he's right. I want the fan base to stick together, but Bellerin's come out with a statement on Twitter, where is, right, at the time of making this video, I have still not seen a statement from Xhaka. I've not seen an apology from Xhaka on his Instagram, his Twitter. Nothing from Xhaka. It shouldn't be Bellerin coming out. It should be Xhaka coming out, and the first step to this whole thing should be, I am sorry for the way in which I behaved towards the fans. I reacted. I shouldn't have done. There were, you know, I was very upset with the reaction of the fans. However, I should never have reacted in that way. Where is his thing? I'm not really interested in Bellerin's at the moment until I hear him. He's the person. I mean, Bellerin weren't even playing him. There shouldn't be Bellerin having to cover him. He should be coming out. And I do feel a bit sorry for Xhaka, because I said already, right, that I've seen this guy playing games. We know the performances haven't been there, but I've seen him playing games where he's had a poor performance, and the game finishes and he walks over to the fans and he's still clapping them. He's one of the few players, and Bellerin actually is one of them as well, that always comes over to the fans, says thank you for travelling, whatever. And I've seen him do it even when he's been getting stick. So that's why it surprised me, his reaction yesterday. And I think he has to apologise. You know, like you said, in the society that we're in now, listen, how much stick we get on Twitter and that, Robbie, you fat this, you idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. Some of them are probably right, right? No. You get loads of stick. But even me, I can't. First of all, when I first started doing this, sometimes I reacted to things. I've kind of learnt over the years, you can't always react. All right, if somebody really steps over the line, but you have to try not to react. He's the captain, he's in charge. So what is it then next week? Everyone else reacts. If somebody else gets a booed or whatever, then they react. Does everybody react? You're in charge. You're representing the club on the field. It was horrible what happened to him. What the fans, you know, the way they did. But I'm sorry, he's got a responsibility. And I am shocked that I didn't see an apology the same night.
I agree with you. I was going to say that to you. First of all, I think you talk really passionately from the heart there, and I think that was really, what you said was actually right on the money. All right. I think that the only way back for him is to apologise. That's the first thing he needs to do. Apologise. And
he's left it late, really, hasn't he? I think we should have heard something from him after the game.
What did you think?
Not coming out and talking, but an apology.
I think he stormed out the stadium yesterday. I was told.
That's what I heard. Yeah, he stormed out
the stadium with his dad. But look, I mean, Emery said in his press conference or in his interview, didn't he? We would deal with this in house. So maybe that hasn't taken place yet.
Well,
but I think the only way back from him, Robbie, is to apologise. He has to apologise to the fans. Now, one thing I noticed yesterday is when that substitution was made, I think the booing got louder because he was taking so long.
Maybe he deliberately took ages to walk off the pitch, and he was going in the fans. That's what led to all the booing.
Yeah, fair point.
Before it was ironic cheers. Get off. Yeah, I mean, which I didn't like.
No.
But then he made it worse, and you're the captain.
Should he stay as Arsenal captain?
I can't see. Listen, you know what? In the heat of the moment, we all say never ever again. He should never. Sometimes some of these things can actually work for the player. The only way I can see him, he has to make a full and open apology to the fans. But I must admit, it just felt to me yesterday after his reaction, that looks to me like a player that's has to be moved on.
You think so?
Because
There's no way.
You know what it is, right? Are his performances going to carry him through to get him out of this predicament? You know what I mean? He's not like a striker that next week can go and bang in a hat trick and go back to the fans, is it? He's going to be in the middle of the park if he makes another mistake. You know what I mean? That's why he should have apologised straight away. I don't know. I think he's done. Not that he's, you know. And I also feel that the club need to take some harsh sanctions on him. The way they've dealt with Ozil, if they deal with him in a very soft manner now, it's going to look very weird, isn't it? That you've really come down on Ozil like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And then after what he done so publicly that everybody is talking about it, every single person who's interested in football is talking about this today.
So we're starting to question Emery's judgment.
Well,
and you have to question his judgment on the captains. Then he's losing his captains. He's lost Ozil. That's what decision his own making. He's now lost Xhaka, you could argue. That's 2 of his 5 gone, and he's starting. So is he losing?
I think he's on very thin ice.
Is he losing that dressing room?
Unai Emery's got no credit in the bank with the fans because he's not an Arsene Wenger that had this great record. He got a honeymoon period last season, right? So I know people are saying, fans are impatient. As regards how managers get sacked nowadays, the fans have been quite patient. But he finished the season horribly, and it's continued on this season. And like you said, what's the pattern of play? Look at the players in this team, man. Lacazette, Bamiyang, Pepe, Guendouzi, Ceballos, Tierney, David Luiz, Leno. Why is the team so poor?
Do you know what the worrying thing is? I think Curtis, who I think really does good, excellent interviews on Arsenal Fan TV, Curtis. He nailed it, didn't he, with Aubameyang and Lacazette's contracts coming up. If they're not seeing this team progress,
well, they'll be off, innit?
We'll be keeping.
And those are high quality players, right? That, you know, basically this guy's got us out of jail this season.
I was reading something from Alan Smith in the Evening Standard, Alan Smith, ex-Arsenal player, and he wonders whether the players understand what Emery is trying to ask them to do. He said the language barrier might be a problem.
Remember when Antonio Conte came to England?
Yeah.
He could hardly speak a word of English, remember?
Yeah.
They won the league. Just saying, you know what I mean?
I think the other thing I want to highlight, right, is that the thing about Emery is, I said it yesterday in my fan cam, I don't think he's improved us defensively, and we just can't defend. The first goal obviously was the first thing we highlighted, but the second goal, the 2 things, we don't close down in wide areas, because when Zaha plays it down the line to MacArthur, I made a mistake yesterday. I thought it was Zaha got the cross in, but it was actually MacArthur. MacArthur crosses it over. First of all, Xhaka is, ironically enough,
half-hearted block.
He didn't really make much of an effort, did he? There was no desire to close the space, to stop the cross.
There's no desire in defending, is there? There's no... You see moments like yesterday, I saw Socrates showing a lot of desire to get back, put a tackle in. Tierney, same. But sometimes with a lot of the defending, especially in midfield, there's no...
I think, and the other thing is, just coming back to Luiz, he switches off quite a lot. I've noticed that quite a lot.
Kevin Campbell reckoned to me, he said that he felt that David Luiz didn't do anything wrong. He said that it was the quality of the cross that caught him out. And Ayew done brilliantly to just drop off. So... Who
am I to argue with Kevin Campbell? But I think that, all right, fair enough. But I just think defensively, I think he's got problems.
Well, listen,
and
Graham,
he hasn't addressed it, Robbie.
Graham, when he came in, I remember doing an interview. I can't remember who it was with, and they said, "What are you looking for from Unai Emery?" And the 2 things that I personally said on that time, right, is I said, I want him to sort out our defence. He hasn't done that. And the second thing I said is I want him to sort out our away form, and he hasn't done that.
But he said he wanted us to be
thin ice.
He said he wanted us to be a pressing team, but we don't press very well. He said he wants us to play out from the back, but we don't play out from the back very well.
Yeah.
And he's lost his creative number 10, so we're not creating. And I think that we're conceding too many goals and we're giving up too many shots. So.
And the next 2 games. What do you think? Wolves away, take a Liverpool one out of it.
Yeah.
Wolves at home.
Massive games, aren't
Leicester away. If he lost those 2, Graham, then we go into an international break. Do you reckon he'll survive?
We'll be looking forward to the international break then. I think the hierarchy have come out and said that we're not a knee-jerk club. and we're going to stick by him to the end of the season.
We've heard that before in other clubs.
Lee Judges.
I've heard Watford say that.
Lee Judges said it brilliantly, didn't he, yesterday? Do we save ourselves, pay him 6 million off and save ourselves 39 million? We're not getting in the Champions League, but even
what would you do?
Even if there's no, even if we don't, even if we got rid of him, we brought another manager in. Who is there we could bring in? There's no guarantee they get us in the Champions League.
Allegri out there.
I think Allegri slightly on the wane at Juventus that last year, and I'm not. No,
but you can.
His record. You're going by his record, aren't you?
You could have said Klopp was on the wane in his last year at Dortmund. Remember, they didn't finish. They have a great season in his last year, But they're elite managers.
Yeah.
He's out there. He's available. What would you do? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Thanks for that.
Allegri's available, right? And he loses his next two games. What would you do?
I would say if you've got an upgrade in the manager, you would upgrade the manager. So I'd have to say if Allegri was available. Not that I like to see us acting this way, because I just think that we're not like Chelsea.
Works for Chelsea.
It works for Chelsea. It works for Watford. Because it doesn't work for Watford in the way it works for Chelsea. But I understand. You understand what I'm saying? No, if a better manager
worked for Leicester.
Yeah, and it worked for Liverpool. So look, if a better manager is available, you always take the upgrade.
You just said earlier on, it's a throwaway society. Should we throw him away?
So no, in answer to the question then, if Allegri is available and the results, I would give him a little bit longer, right? I would say at the moment we're 12 points off the top. Well, we know we're not going to win the league, but we're 4 points off the top four. At the moment, Leicester and Chelsea are looking very solid in those positions. I can't believe Tottenham under Pochettino are going to continue being as poor as they have been. They'll get better.
And Man United are starting to improve.
And Man United have improved. So I think the thing is, it boils down to how close. Remember the remit. Let's go back to the remit. The remit of the club. Top four. Now, if come Christmas, that gap is getting wider, and a top manager like Allegri is available, I would take him. Not that I want to see Emery gone in this way, but it's, as you know, we want Arsenal Football Club to be back in the Champions League, and we have to sort of like, if we're going to improve players or manager, we have to take that, don't we?
Okay, well listen, what do you guys think? We really love to hear what your thoughts on Emery, your thoughts on Xhaka, your thoughts on VAR. So many talking points after that game. Of course, we move on to Liverpool next in the League Cup, and then two huge games for Unai Emery. Wolves at home, Leicester away. It couldn't get any tougher. And I think we're going to find out
Robbie,
where we're at.
Put you on the spot. Would you take Mourinho?
No. You heard it first.